Hi everybody, this is Andi. I'm the prop chef here at TwoPerspecitvesStudio. Today I want to give you a little clue as to how you can use our products that we sell in our Etsy shop under the Prop Chef tab. These are the crust mixes. This is the chocolate crust mix. This is the dark crust mix. And this is the light crust mix. You can kind of see the difference in the two. This one is much lighter than this one. Now this light crust mix can be used for a variety of things, including making very realistic faux graham cracker crust for cheesecakes or pies. This one, being a little bit darker, is very good for fake meat, taco meat, if you're making fake tacos, meatballs for spaghetti, burgers, that type of thing. So anywhere that you need a little bit darker crust variety, you can use this one also as a graham cracker crust. Just know that it's going to be a little bit darker than a traditional graham cracker crust, which would be on the lighter side. This could be more of like a snickerdoodle crust or a gingerbread crust. Perfect for gingerbread cookies. All of these, once they are made into the material, they can go in a mold. You can pop it out of the mold and let it air dry. Perfect for cookies. You can scent these with cinnamon if you're doing snickerdoodle cookies or gingerbread cookies. Great for the holiday time. This is the chocolate crust mix. This is great for making chocolate crusts for pies or cheesecakes. You can also make chocolate cookies with this. This one is definitely by far the messiest of the three crust mixes. This one has some material in it that sort of bleeds the darker color. So with all three crust mixes, you'll need to wear gloves when preparing them. You'll be working with wood glue and silicone as additives for all three of these. Depending on what you're using it for is how much silicone you'll put in the mix. If you want more of a crumbly mix, you'll put in less silicone. If you want a tightly knit burger to put on a bun, you're going to want to use more silicone. Same as if you're going to do a crust mix for a pie or a cheesecake, you'll want a little more silicone so that the mixture doesn't crumble. It holds together very tightly. So I'm going to go through a couple of, I'm going to do each one separately, show you how it comes out, and then tell you what you can do with it. So we're going to get started with that. So this is our light crust mix. For making a crust mix for a large cheesecake platform or a 9 or 10-inch pie crust, you're going to want to use about 2 cups of this, maybe a little less depending on how thick you want it. I tend to make them on the thick side just so that they hold up for the long run, and I'm also an Etsy seller of my items, and I don't want them not to be able to hold up in shipping or for the duration of whatever my clients are using these for. So I go a little on the thick side. If you're doing just home crafting and you want to use these, you can go a little bit lighter if you're not going to be rough with it, if it doesn't have to be shipped anywhere. The back of each bag of mix has a recipe. It's just a basic recipe on how to use it. You'll alter basically the amount of silicone for each recipe that I give you as to how you're going to use it, whether you want it to be very moldable or pretty loose. And what I mean by loose is more like taco filling or ground hamburger. This is the dark crust mix. This is done, I use this for taco meat or sometimes in spaghetti sauce or things like that. If I'm, depending on what I'm doing. This makes very nice taco meat. It's very realistic and it's pretty easy to do. This is the crumbled variety. So I used less silicone in here to make this crumble into, you know, little pieces. And this is the result after it hardens. It just is little lumps of, just like fake meat. If you're forming it into a crust for the base of a cheesecake or a pie pan, you'll definitely want it to, when you squeeze it with your hands, you're going to want it to all stick together and not be crumbly, which is where the silicone comes in. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to add a little bit of water. Every mixture needs to start with a little bit of moisture. It doesn't take a whole lot, 1 or 2 ounces at most, not a whole lot, just to moisten your initial, we'll call it batter. You just want this to moisten up just slightly, and it helps adhere all the rest of the parts together. You'll see it starts to form little crumbles as you're mixing the water in here. Doesn't take a lot of water. You should also take care to wear a mask. When you're pouring or mixing these materials, they are dusty. So a paper mask or a bandana around your mouth just for a few minutes while you're mixing these is a good idea, just so that you're not breathing in all that dust. So this is now a moister substance. That's what we want. To that, you're going to add wood glue. Doesn't have to be this brand, of course. Any wood glue will do. If you don't have wood glue and you're just using this for a home project, white glue is fine, or clear glue, like PVA glue, Elmer's glue, any of that. It will all work. If you're selling these products, because this is based with a wood material, and there's some other, this is an all natural material. It's all nature substrate. There's no artificial anything in here. Wood glue is going to be your best binder. But if you don't have wood glue and you don't want to buy any and you don't sell your materials, you go ahead and use whatever glue that you have. For this portion, you'll need about 2 ounces of wood glue. And this was approximately 2 cups of the mixture, about 1 ounce of water, and about 2 ounces of wood glue. And you're going to work this in just like you did the water. Now I'm going to be prepared to put my gloves on very soon to where I can really mix this mixture all together. I'm taking this thicker popsicle stick and I'm sort of smushing all of this down to get all of that glue incorporated, because it will sort of adhere to different chunk areas of this mixture. So you want to make sure that you get it all over. So I'm going to stop and put my gloves on real quick. Now I have my silicone over here in my gun. They make tubes of, I use a clear 100% silicone. That's pretty important. You can mix caulk in here. That's not 100% silicone, but it really won't give you the same result in the long run. So clear 100% silicone is the way to go. Now I've got an electric gun here, battery operated. They make regular caulking guns. It's just fine. You can buy these big tubes, or they make tubes that are just squeezable and you don't need the gun for it. Either one is totally fine. You're going to need 2 to 3, sometimes even a little bit more than 3 ounces of this silicone material. When you're, like I said, the more silicone, the more dense and packed your product will be. So if you want crumble, stay on the lower side of the silicone. If you want solid packed like a pie crust, more silicone. Now you can use little disposable cups or a little measuring cup, whatever you have. Just make sure that you don't use it for food and after you've put chemical like silicone in it. You want to make sure that you have measuring utensils just for your craft area and they don't touch real food. I actually have gotten pretty good at eyeballing how many seconds it takes to pull an ounce out of my gun here. So I don't usually use measuring equipment. Depending on what I'm doing. So this will stick pretty handedly to your popsicle stick. Once you get it all moistened and coated with this mixture, you can start working on it with your fingertips with a glove on. You don't want to be squishing silicone around with a bare hand. You don't want to get silicone in your jewelry. Now I am making this mixture fairly packed and it'll be ready to go on as a base for a cheesecake or a pie crust or some cookies in a silicone mold. You don't want to leave this mixture sitting. Only use what you are going to use in 30 minutes or less than an hour, I guess I should say. Don't mix this up and then try and save it. You can't do it. You'll ruin your mix. This will harden. It'll start to harden in less than an hour. If it does start to harden on you too quickly, you can spray a little bit of alcohol in it. The alcohol will loosen up the silicone. The alcohol will loosen up the silicone enough for you to keep working with it. So this is a firm pack. This is what you want if you're going to be making the base of a cheesecake, or you're going to press this into the sides of a pie pan to make a fake graham cracker crust. Once it dries, I know it looks sort of like a hamburger now, but once it gets pressed into whatever you're going to work on, once it dries, it looks just like a graham cracker crust. So it's perfect for, like I said, making faux cheesecakes or little mini cakes with graham cracker crust. If you wanted this to be more crumbly, if you were going to use this as crumble topping for some crumb-topped muffins or as granola, you'll just want to crumble those pieces, lay them out on some parchment, and let them dry. And when you go back, you have some crumble topping that'll be hard enough to where you can mix it up with anything to make like a layered granola and fruit dessert or anything like that. If you want to use this as crumble topping for muffins, you can sprinkle a little cinnamon in here just for a nice smell and a little bit of effect. Pack it right on your fake base for your muffins. Pack it on while it's wet in this crumble form, and just let it dry. And you'll have a crumb top muffin that you'll be able to add fake drizzle to, or lots of other things. This is a very versatile product. I use it a lot here in my realistic fake baking world, and I hope you'll give this one a try. The next one I'm going to show you is the darker crust mix. We're going to do a very similar, like almost identical pattern here, and that I'll show you the difference between the dark and the light and what you can do with it. So I'll be right back and we'll get into that. So I took our light crust mix and these are 6-inch foam discs. You can get those in lots of different places. This is how I form the base for my cheesecakes. This is upside down, of course, but this will be the bottom crust for a cheesecake. When this dries, the crust mix will be very realistic. I'm going to let it dry upside down right now until this base is nice and formed, and then I will go on and finish my cheesecake. I'll probably top it with some fruit of some sort, but that's one way that you can use this light crust mix. So for the dark crust mix, this one is quite a bit darker than the light one. It's hard to see with the glare from the lights here, but it is quite a bit darker. This one can be used for meat. It can be used for very realistic grilled burgers, if you happen to do that kind of thing, or gingerbread cookies, lots of different things that require a little bit darker crust mix. Now this is also an all-natural material. Everything in here does come from nature. There's no harmful chemicals in here. We start again with some water just to moisturize the mix. And again, I do recommend that you use a mask while you're stirring this because it is a little bit dusty and you don't really want to breathe this in. The only reason I'm not wearing one right now is because I'm filming this and I want you to be able to hear and understand what I'm saying. So again, after you've moisturized this, you're going to go in for your wood glue. Again, you can, if you're not selling this, it's really not necessary to use the wood glue. I do it for the extra strength application here. I use about 2 ounces of the wood glue. And I want to mix that in. Again, each one of these mixes does have the base recipe on the back of the package. It's just a guideline for a base recipe, so you want to be sure that if you want it to be crumbly, you don't add too much silicone. I think the base recipe on here calls for 2 to 3 ounces. And 3 ounces or maybe a little more than 3 ounces in a full 2 cups will make you a couple of hamburgers or a very dark crust, like a gingerbread crust for a fall cheesecake or a Christmas cheesecake, anything like that. Or you can make cookies from molds. Pretty versatile. Then you'll put in your silicone. And again, if you're making fake meat out of this that's crumbly, stay on the lighter side of the silicone. Stop before you get too much in. And your product will be more crumbly. If you want it to be very packed like a burger, then you'll want to add more of the silicone. I stopped to show you what the crumble will appear like. So if you want this crumbly, you'll add 1 or 2 ounces of the silicone, just a little at a time until you get the consistency that you want. Now, this mixture, if you're filling taco shells, you don't have to let this dry ahead of time. You can go ahead and fill your fake taco shells. I make mine out of clay. And once my shells are dry, I put the wet fake meat mixture into the shell. I do drizzle some glue down in it just to hold everything together, but once this dries, it will naturally stick together. So this is more of a crumble, like a crumbled meat mixture. If you're trying to make something that really sticks together, you see this isn't, it'll come apart if I start to hold it. So this is not enough silicone to make a burger. So you definitely want to up it to about 3 ounces of the silicone if you're going to go for a full burger. Now, if you're making multiple burgers, you can use 2 cups of the mix. If you're not making that many burgers, if you just want to make one, you don't have to add so much mix. You can alter this recipe just like you do any other recipe. Like I said, once you have used this, you can't save it. It will dry. So only use as much as you think you're going to need for your project. Now you see, the more silicone you add, the more this starts to press together. And it'll actually start coming off your gloves when you get it all mixed. It won't stick as much as it does initially. It is sort of a messy project, I'm not going to lie there. But now this will make about 2 burgers. If you cut this in half and do equal halves, you can make two fake burgers out of this mixture. And I don't use any kind of form for this. I do it to where, like, if you were just patting out ground beef burgers or whatever in your kitchen to go on your grill, that's kind of what I make them look like. I make my buns out of clay. So I would put this on a rack and let it dry, and I make grill marks on it with paint and different things once this whole thing is dry. But it does actually look like a realistic hamburger once it's dry. And this mixture that I just did here, which was almost 2 cups, makes 2 decent size. I need a place to put that. 2 decent size fake burgers. Or, like I said, if you're adding cinnamon to this, you can press it to make cookies, Christmas cookies, seasonal gingerbread, or this can be a darker crust mix for a different kind of cheesecake, like a pumpkin cheesecake. This would be a perfect ginger snap looking crust for a pumpkin cheesecake. So that would be a good fall project using this dark crust mix. So I have 2 burgers here that I made out of that. I'm going to pop it on the rack over here and let those start drying. They'll be completely dry by tomorrow. And then I can go on and prepare my buns and make some faux burgers. Now the last one we're going to do is the chocolate crust. For the chocolate crust, you need to be a little more aware because this does contain an artificial ingredient in it that does not come from nature. So you need to definitely make sure you protect your face while you're doing this. Do not breathe this in. And we'll start on that in just a minute. I'm going to put these burgers away and clean up. So for the chocolate crust mix, you're going to do basically the same as we did with the last two. You'll start with a little water. Now you want to cover your face with this. Do not breathe this in. When you pour it out of the bag, make sure that you're protecting yourself. You don't want to breathe this in. You'll want to moisten the mixture just like we did with the others. Now this one has enough of the artificial ingredient in it. It's not a natural substrate like the other ones have. You can use, even if you're selling things from this mixture, you can use just white school glue with this. It doesn't have to be wood glue at all. There's not enough of the wood product in here for it to really matter. I have the wood glue at my desk, so that's what I'm going to use. Again, about 2 ounces is what you want. Clean off this glue rim here so that it doesn't stick forever and ever. You'll want to mix this in pretty good. Then we're going to add some black paint. There is a, oh, that's stuck. There is a material in here that's naturally brown. So you need to cover it up with a little bit of black paint. Let's see if I have enough in here to, yes I do, okay. Mixing the black paint in helps cover up those little brown specks. Usually after I put this on a pie crust or a cheesecake or whatever I'm doing with it, sometimes I'll go back with a paintbrush with some black paint and just dab it on wherever I see the little brown specks, and it covers it right up. Now this one I almost always make very very thick. Because this is I use this as a chocolate pie crust on grasshopper pies, chocolate pies, cheesecakes, the bottoms of trifles. So I put a little extra silicone in this one. Need to put on some gloves. This is probably the messiest one because it does have some black paint in it, and it has a black substance in there that bleeds the black out of it all the time. So this is a pretty messy one, messier than the others. But as chocolate pie crusts go, they are very realistic. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't take one of the other pie crust mixtures or crust mixtures. If you were putting it on a pie, you could paint it with black paint and probably get a similar result. So that's an option as well. Now, all three of these are available on our Etsy store at TwoPerspecitvesStudio.etsy.com. Okay. So there again, when it gets to that point, you want to start manipulating the mixture with your fingertips. Kind of looks like potting soil when it gets to this point. But that's honestly, if you're making an Oreo cookie crust, it looks a lot like that. I guess I should say chocolate cookie crust. So again, I typically get this to where it will form just one large ball of material and it'll stay without crumbling. That's how I know I have enough silicone in it. If it starts to crumble off and it doesn't really stick together, honestly, when I squeeze this, if I don't see a good amount of liquid come out of it, I feel like I don't have it wet enough and I don't have enough silicone. So what you want is a nice ball like this to where if you start to play with it, it's not going to crumble. This is what you want. And you can press and it's not really going to crumble. This is what you want to achieve. And then you'll be able to press it into your pie pan or on the bottom of your cheesecake or whatever you're going to do with this. But that's about how you want that. So that is just a little tutorial on how to use the 3 crust mixes that we sell. People have asked for more information on them, so here you are. If you have any other questions, you can let me know down in the comments, or you can send me a message, or you can send me an email on our website if you need more detailed information. However we can help, just let me know. Have a great day. This is Andi, the Prop Chef, saying bye for now.